Ooh. That's Mike. Look at the waveform. Ooh.
That is a bad one.
Okay then. Should we just go for it then? Should we just go for it? I'm recording, so we may as well just do it.
Well, you started speaking differently to how you were speaking a second ago, so I guess
we're started now. Yeah, I've put the voice on. Right, hello everybody and welcome to the Corridor of Uncertainty. We're on chairs now. There's a few changes actually to the setup that we should yes. mention first. We've got chairs. We thought that we'd give our backs a little rest, and it means that we won't fall foul of Pillowgate, which is good. We don't need them. We've got the back of a chair instead. Who knows? The pillows might return, but we shall see. And also, we've decorated our frame, I guess you could say, our background, our pod corridor area, with mugs and with this lovely cricket bat. Charlie, do you want to tell the tale?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's worth recognising that we're an audio podcast for now. So I will do my best to describe what we're looking at. This will probably be a reel, but my lovely girlfriend, who I called our girlfriend in the last episode, so I apologise.
We're not in a throuple.
No, we want to shut that down right now. We've just done our Christmas presents, and she's got me and Johnny these lovely mugs with our current Spotify logo on, the Corridor of Uncertainty. Johnny's pointing at it.
Can you? I don't know. The listeners won't be able to see it, but the real people.
Johnny's pointing, and she's also crocheted me a cricket bat neck pillow, which is very lovely. So that's going to sit in between us from now on.
Absolutely. And also it has two modes. It has cricket bat and also rock and roll fringe. So it's multi-purpose.
Again, for the listeners, it has a flappy handle.
It's very flappy handle.
But it's lovely.
Oh, my mic's nearly coming apart.
Thank you to our girlfriend. This is the most chaotic start yet. Can you tell that we don't really want to talk about the cricket today?
Yeah, we're doing whatever we can. I think we're trying to fumble around for as long as possible so that we don't have to talk about what happened, to be honest. So let's, should we just say what happened? England are not going to win the Ashes. England are not going to draw the Ashes. Australia have won the Ashes, and they've done so in, as soon as they possibly could have done by winning the first three tests with 2 to go, an unassailable lead. Great stuff. Well done. I hope they're happy. Speaking of, I hope you're happy, Charlie, we've got a fan.
Yeah, we hit to our one confirmed Australian listener. Ali, I know you're listening, or I hope you're listening, and thank you for listening.
And
I hope you're happy. Take the urn, do what you want with it. Maybe use it on some lessons in grace and decorum. But no, this is just to say it to my friend Ali, who I work with, who has listened to all of it so far, despite not really being that interested in cricket. Thank you for listening, and also you're Australian, so yeah, well done.
That is, to be fair, incredible dedication to not really be into cricket and to still listen to every episode. So thank you. And for the first time, we can say friend of the podcast. So that's nice. So Charlie, we're going to have a new segment actually, because we don't really want to talk about that much cricket. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Charlie O'Brien, who's here. This is him right there, and he's going to round up. It's Charlie's roundup. We are Charlie's roundup.
Nice. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's great. Yes, let's just get this over and done with. So Australia won the toss, batted first on a flat one. They gifted 4 wickets to England within the first sort of session and a bit on a very good pitch. Jofra Archer bowling very well and very tidily, but I think every Australian batsman dismissed would look back with a little bit of regret. But then Khawaja, who wasn't supposed to be playing this game but came in as a last-minute replacement for Steve Smith, who has vertigo. Where did that come from?
How has he got vertigo?
I don't know.
Has he been skydiving? Charlie's going skydiving soon.
Yes, that's another one. Yes, very nice presents from our girlfriend. Yes, so Steve Smith has vertigo. Usman Khawaja, whose test career was over, was back in about 10 minutes. Made a nice 80, and Alex Carey also batted very well. Got a reprieve, which we'll talk about near the end of the show, but he was very deserving of a first Ashes 100. Australia closed about 320 odd for 8 on the first day, and England were pretty happy with that, as England have been after every first day, and day 2 is where it all goes wrong. England with a renewed batting approach, which we will also discuss. collapsed to 280 odd all out. The only resistance coming from Stokes and Archer, and then put back into bat Australia, serenely made far more than England could have chased down, in part due to some pretty passive fields and bowling from England. And yeah, England faced with a record chase, actually did all right, got 350, but we're never on the cards. And the reason we've just blown through the game today instead of, breaking it down like we have done is because I think the important question to ask this week is, how did England go from bowling out Australia for what people thought were under par in the first innings to then scoring 350 in the fourth innings and it not being anywhere near enough?
Yeah, well, we had a brief kitchen conversation, didn't we, Charlie? And you didn't want to spoil too much for me, but it's so strange, as you say, that bowling Australia out, as you say, for potentially under par totals, and that final innings, if you there's situations in sport where you say, we'll offer you this, you'll make this total on the last day, would you take it? You'd probably go, well, that'll
snap your hand off.
You'd snap your hand off for that one. Yeah, absolutely. You'd say, yeah, that gives us a great chance. And yet, closer than we probably expected to be to making that total, but still never on the cards, as you said, still nowhere near. And unfortunately, for the third time in a test review podcast, we've got to have a segment called Where the Game Went Wrong. So once again, I'll pass over to you, Charlie. Where did the game go wrong?
Well, first of all, we can talk about the batting approach. I think the bowling in the first innings was largely okay. I think they gave away a lot of freebies, as they have been doing throughout, but Josh Tongue was a good addition, and it was Jofra's best bowling so far. And Carr's taking the new ball. It was still expensive, but I think he stepped up and understood that the lengths needed to be a little bit fuller. But if we go to the batting, we often talk about par scores, and it's not like golf. We don't actually know what the par is. We're sort of making up as we go along.
It's a feeling, is the sense I'm getting.
But when we look at this scorecard, Australia batting first, 371 all out. Australia batting second, 349 all out. England batting second, 352 all out. It actually gives us an impression that we do know what par was. So the big fat stinking outlier is England 286 all out.
What's
in 87 overs.
What's that all about?
And I think, well, first of all, it's worth acknowledging that this is, and we'll talk about the two attacks a little bit later on, but this is the closest we've got to Australia's first choice attack. And it really told, it wasn't Mitch Starc having to do it all on its own. There was absolutely no let up from anyone. And the sort of variation and the control on display was exemplary. So we can't discount that. But England tried to bat properly and it didn't work. They batted very slowly. I think, to be fair, a couple of people, namely Crawley and Duckett, who would have put their foot down, got out early, but then everyone after that sort of decided that they needed to hunker down. And, you could just very much just tell it's not how England play cricket, and it hasn't been for 4 years. And we actually got a YouTube comment.
Yes, we did.
From Chris Russell, 5690.
I don't know who that is. So that's officially
I
a random person who's at least watched one of it. Where did it come from? YouTube?
From YouTube. So thank you for listening, and I hope you're listening again. And he said, some of the English batsmen have only played Test cricket under this regime. I think they're like Pavlov's dogs. They can't help but play the ball. They were chosen to play this way. It's maybe impossible for some of them to do anything else. And I think we did see that with Ben Duckett's dismissal. Initially looked like a really good ball from Nathan Lyon. But some of the commentators were quick to say, actually, that's, he's made it look good. It's beat the outside edge. It's turned a little bit. But a opening batter who was confident with his defence against spin wouldn't be getting out that way. And Ben Duckett just doesn't defend against spin. He's been very vocal in tours to India and Pakistan saying, well, I trust my sweep more than my forward defence, so I'm just going to sweep. And that's what he does. The same as he trusts poking his bat out there to the seamers than he does leaving it. And, that's not the way Test cricket's traditionally played. But if that's how you feel comfortable, that's fine. And I think where England have gone wrong on this tour is mixed messaging has crept in, which has always been the strong the strong suit of Bazball is to not have mixed messaging. And after Stokes' outburst after the second test, you clearly saw people saying we need to take a different approach. But ultimately, the approach they're taking isn't the approach that they've got to this point with.
It feels like throughout a test series, there is a narrative. There's a prevailing narrative that threads its way through from the point of view of one of the sides, and it feels like the England batting approach might be the key takeaway from this. In that we came into it thinking this is Bazball's big test. This is what it's been building up to, and what it's actually happened is the volcano, the pressure has built, and then a little bit of lava has dribbled down the edge, and it's decided actually I don't fancy an eruption. Let's just keep it nice and say. Do you like my analogy there?
Yes.
Does that work?
I do. It made me think of pre-cum, but I think that's a me problem.
We've all been there. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're exactly right. And I think, I think Bazball has died not with a bang, but with a whimper.
Yeah, absolutely. A pre-cum, if you will. Yes.
Bazball has splooged, not with a bang, but with a dribble of pre-cum.
Bazball has slightly damp pants, unfortunately.
This one is... And it really feels that we're unravelling with the English. So
as it should be.
That's good. But yeah, I think, honestly, from someone who's been a fan and a supporter of Bazball all the way through, and has, they've given us some great moments that you unfortunately missed.
Yeah, great. I've just caught the end of it.
It used to be really fun.
And then I started watching.
I promise, yeah. But I think we all knew that it wouldn't last forever, but I think maybe hoped that it would go down in a blaze of glory. And, maybe with the Perth test, it was going down in a blaze of glory. But I think it's a little bit disheartening to see England just completely lose faith in their own approach for exactly one innings. Because if we want to fast forward to the fourth innings where England batted the best they have all series to make 350, which is never easy in the fourth innings, even though the pitch was still very good. They batted in the Bazball way, in a refined Bazball way, where Zach Crawley was 1 off 30. But usually when Zach Crawley's 1 off 30, it's because he's throwing his hands and he just has been lucky not to edge it. This was very studious, smart batting where he realised that that 5 over burst from Cummins and Stark was the danger, and that they were putting it in an area where you couldn't drive it. So he didn't try, and he could leave on length, so he did. But then when Nathan Lyon, who was said to be the real danger man for the fourth innings, home ground, spinner, Adelaide, where it breaks up, they went after him straight away. They swept and then reverse swept him and Root, and they were very proactive, and they really nullified that threat. And it was only when Harry Brook reverse swept and missed one to Lyon later in the day that they sort of let Lyon into the game. But, you have to sort of say fair enough, they scored freely against him. And the only problem I think you can have with Harry Brook playing that shot is that he didn't have a look. Again, he didn't have a look at Lyon before. It was maybe the first ball he'd faced of Lyon. But, we saw Harry Brook. We saw Zach Crawley in the last innings. We saw Harry Brook in the first innings play in a way where their strike rate was still very healthy, but you could tell that they were thinking about the shots they were playing. They were thinking about, sorry, my mum's texting me. They were thinking about, about when they played the shot and to who, but they still both scored at very healthy clicks at good strike rates. So they showed how to Bazball, but that's not what England actually tried to do in the first innings. They blocked it out. In fairness, a word for Ben Stokes here, and part of the reason for the lower run rate is because he faced a lot of the balls, and that, as discussed last time, is his way. He really gives it a chance. Yeah, he absorbs it, and he did it brilliantly. But I think maybe there was a little bit of mixed messaging there, where what Ben Stokes actually wanted people to do, which Crawley and Brook did do, is absorb and then assert yourself from the opposition. Whereas maybe what actually happened is England just fully went into their shell a little bit too much and just showed exactly why we stopped playing this way in the first place.
Sponge, Ben, Stokes, Bob. Stokes, Penn, Sponge, Stokes. Ben, Sponge, Stokes, Bob.
What does the Bob mean?
What the Bob, Sponge Bob.
Well, yeah, I know, but okay. Move on, yeah.
No, I want to get this right. Sponge Ben, Stokes Bob. That's it, innit? That could go. Anyway,
No, but it's his name. But it'd be Pants.
pants. I forgot the pants part. Sponge, Ben, Stokes, pants. That was pants. Right. So, Charlie, if we could try and find a positive, if we could try and take something away from this, we mentioned that Bazball died with a whimper, but what you said there is that maybe it can adapt. Maybe there's a smart way of Bazballing, and maybe that last innings showed it. Is there a silver lining here, or am I really being deluded there?
I think, unfortunately, this is maybe the third time in the last 2 years. Not me and you, but they've been trying to refine Bazball for a while now. First, after every chastening defeat, they do that, or mid-chastening defeat. It was refined during the 2023 Ashes because England went 2-0 down. It was refined again during the 2024 summer because England had just lost 4-1, pardon me. And now it's looking to be refined again. I think it can be refined. I think the problem is that the reason why Bazball worked so well initially was because it was a 100% message with no ifs, ands or buts, no caveats, and it couldn't be confused with anything else. And there was no doubt, even when England players should have doubted, when they should have thought they could never have won from that position. It was just an area. It was just an area of no doubt.
If you think it, do it, and don't second guess yourself.
So the reason why Agnew and others have said it's dead is because we heard Stokes and McCullum maybe backtrack a little bit on their absolutist message. So I think Bazball is dead because if you're not going to...
So it's not technically Bazball anymore because Bazball's a mentality, and the mentality
is dead. They've shit the bed this tour with selection. I think Will Jacks is a very un-Bazball selection because when we started, two of the things that Stokes said were, I always want to pick a spinner because England hadn't been picking a specialist spinner. He said, I always want to pick a spinner. I don't care if they can bat. And he also said, I don't care if any of my bowlers can bat. The bowling attack... That's changed. Yeah. The bowling attack was Broad, Anderson, Potts, Leach. None of them can bat. We had Broad at 8. He's got a test 100, but that was years and years ago. And he also, he said, I always want a spinner, a specialist spinner, and I don't care about the batting. Fast forward now, they've tried this Shoaib Bashir experiment. Sort of, they've whimpered out of that at the last minute. They've took him to Australia and seen him in the net, seen him in the practice games, and thought, we can't do this. So we'll throw the ball to a part-timer. And then they ended up screwing themselves because he batted okay. He batted well and he showed grit and determination down at 8 in those next 2 games. So now they need him at 8 for the batting. But that wasn't why he was there. And also I'd like to say that in mid to high scoring games that we've seen in the last 2 games, a good gritty 40 from your number 8 isn't going to win you the game. The only game that we've seen where a gritty 40 might have won you the game was the first game and they didn't pick him. So, but now because he's batting okay, they've kind of screwed in that sense. And they have to pick him even though he's not bowling well. Yeah. And now we're into the last 3 games where you need a spinner and he's their spinner and he's not a spinner. Yeah.
Oh, that's not a very good situation to be in, is it?
No. And it's just very disheartening to see all of England's plans fall apart in the way. I commended them for planning years out for this Ashes. It's wrong that we think about the Ashes so far in advance, but if you're going to do it, then at least plan for it. So I commended them for that. But the swings they took were Jamie Smith as the keeper. That's not working. Shoaib Bashir as the spinner. That's not even happened.
Yeah.
Gus Atkinson as the attack leader, and he's been dropped. So, fair play for trying to plan, but your plans haven't worked.
Well, they have completely fallen through, haven't they, unfortunately? Yes. There was an interesting thing that happened, wasn't there, Charlie? There was a few interesting things that happened. It's cricket. Interesting things happen. But Travis Head is seemingly scoring for fun. He's, scoring hundreds for fun. But as we discussed briefly in the kitchen, the field seemed to almost accommodate that. It seemed that in the second innings, they weren't really going for him? What was that? I didn't understand that. As someone who is new to this, watching that did not get what the plan was.
No. And yeah, there wasn't really a...
There wasn't a plan.
Well, the plan was, or the reasoning was, unfortunately, I can't trust my bowlers to bowl enough balls in the same spot to have an attacking field. And this is also another area where Bazball has just completely capitulated. Is it, again, if we can go back to 2022, one of the mantras was attacking batting, attacking bowling. It wasn't just batting. And Stokes encouraged some very experienced bowlers and some very accurate but potentially not always incisive bowlers if the pitch wasn't doing what they needed it to do, in Jimmy Anderson, Stuart Broad, Jack Leach. And what he did is he emboldened these players who had played hundreds of first-class matches to think differently about the game and say, stop worrying about going for runs, think about getting wickets, because ultimately your runs tally will be less if you can bowl them out quicker. So we're just going to keep 5 slips in, we're going to have these big areas and encourage players to play attacking shots, especially with Jack Leach, who was a very defensive spinner and very ineffective at points up to that point in his England career. Stokes said, no, I'm not going to put mid-off back for you because that's an easy single. Let's put mid-off up, and if they want 4, they can hit you over mid-off, but that brings risk. Yeah. And it worked brilliantly because those 3 bowlers in particular were so unerringly accurate that actually they still didn't go for that many runs because they were bowling it in areas where you still got to take a risk to score. Fast forward to now where they've said, well, actually, because we want to play on flat pitches, Broad and Anderson, even if they're accurate, they're too ineffective. So we need players with that X factor, with pace, with bounce, and who are aggressive. What they have sacrificed for that is accuracy, as we flagged up in our preview episode, might be an issue. But what that has led to is that the fields therefore have to be so defensive, and you're more just waiting for batsmen to make a mistake. And, to an extent, Australia do that with England. But the 2 differences are that their bowlers are so accurate that you can bowl with a defensive field and still threaten. And then the second being that they know that England will make a mistake after a while. The batters will... You can give Crawley and Duckett singles galore because there's still going to be a point when they make a mistake. And I just don't think that's the case with Travis Head. He's a smart player. He'll just milk you for singles. And then England changed to a 7-2 offside field, meaning they had 7 players on the offside, 2 players on the leg side, and you're just going to bowl on the offside. And Travis Head went, well, I'm in now, I've got 40-odd runs, you've gifted me a start and I'm in the form of my life. And he was piercing the guy. It was quite humiliating, really. They were leaving these tiny gaps on the offside and he was just finding them.
I mean, that is, I guess you have to tip your hat to Travis Head for being able to do that. And as you say, in the form of his life, what an unbelievable series he's having. But it sounds like we're just discussing wholesale philosophical abandonment here. We're just talking about wholesale change, like a gradual kind of chipping away of the Bazball mentality. And I just want to kind of get where you're at with that. Do you think some people will probably say, well, it shows adaptability. It shows, at least it hasn't worked, but at least he's willing to try something different. Or is it he's abandoned his principles? I've made the Amarim comparison before. I'm a big staunch, no, this is what he does. This is what he does. He shouldn't change his system, but a lot of people call for it. In this sense, with Stokes, do you think he had to make the change, or are you disappointed that he hasn't stuck to his guns?
I think if you want to see what adaptability looks like, you look at Australia. They back their players, who, to be fair, are better players than England's, to execute their skills, and when they adapt, they make little tweaks, like Carey coming up to the stumps, for example. You're still asking the bowlers to bowl to the same plan, but it's just a very little tweak to nullify England coming down the wicket and disrupting the lengths of the bowlers. And because Alex Carey is an adaptable cricketer, i.e. he is skilled enough at his primary skill of wicket keeping to stand up to the stumps to fast bowlers, they can nullify that skill of England. And then, with the bat, Travis Head, naturally attacking player, but he's smart enough to say, well, the field is such that they're making it hard for me to score boundaries, but they're also not really trying to get me out. So I'm just going to milk them. So that's adaptability. It's not adaptability to go into a series saying, well, we're England, we go harder. And then after 2 tests, just say, actually, no, we'll just bat properly. Because they can't do it because they don't do it. Yeah. And Australia are maybe pragmatic is more the word. Yeah. They don't have egos. They don't think, well, this is how we play. They're not embarrassed to have sweepers out to an opening batter. It happened in the last Ashes and everyone was like, well, this shows that they're on the ropes already because we're 4 overs in and they've got people on the boundary. And it's like, well, no, it was actually just very smart from them to say, well, we're going to have someone on the boundary because I reckon you're still going to play the booming drive and you're going to get out.
So if they want to change it up, they can because they've got the players to do it and they back themselves to do it. Whereas if England, who have kind of locked themselves into this mentality, have not only then got to free themselves of years of preparation, but also possibly don't even have the players to do
exactly. Well, the whole reason why they started this is because players like Crawley and Pope.
Limitations.
Yes, he did, and so now you strip that away and we see...
They've pulled the towel away from them and they're stood naked in the middle of
tiny
Australia.
Hanging out. It's like a horrible dream. A word for Ollie Pope, by the way, stinking shot in the first innings. I don't know if you saw it.
He's gone, isn't he?
I think he must be. Well, Zach Crawley said he wasn't. But as our friend who
doesn't, he's not into sport at all, doesn't watch cricket, doesn't watch any sport.
No, but he is a journalist and he was having to clip up Zach Crawley for a bulletin. What did he say?
His exact words were, "This guy's not media trained," and then he repeated some of the things that he was saying. I think the quote that Zach Crawley came out was, "We're staring down the barrel, and it's tough, but we'll give it a good go. But we're staring down the barrel, and to be honest, we're staring down the barrel." And you know what? I think they were at that point. They were staring down the barrel, and the gun was fired, and the head was blown off. By Travis Head. There's a joke there somewhere. Charlie.
Yeah. He was just not on message, and it's another example of the message falling apart because they shoved someone out there to do media because he scored 85. Batted really well. Zach Crawley, just a word for him. I think
can't talk.
Mentioned, but yeah, and yeah, he was not on message. He said Ollie Pope was safe, which I'm
no chat. I mean, come on, not after
that shot. And I think he got. It was funny because in the second innings he got a good ball and a blinder of a catch, but you could just tell that the goodwill was completely eroded by that point. And I think going into the fourth innings, which he never scores runs in, it was very clear that unless he scored 100, he was going to get dropped because the shot he's played to Lyon was absolutely honking and just let Lyon into the game. I would have bet money on Lyon getting a couple of wickets in that first innings, but to get 2 in the first over he bowled and then none after that. Anyway, to circle this all the way back to the message just being completely eroded because you had Zach Crawley saying Pope was safe, saying England was staring down the barrel, saying, what else did he say? He said Australia were the best bowlers he's ever played, that's fair enough. But he also said, he said something else. It'll come back to me.
It'll come to you.
But also I was explaining to Johnny the phenomenon of coaches doing the pressers, which usually basically means you've had a shocking day. But England ran out of coaches. Such
a bad look, isn't it, that?
Yeah. So even Jeetan Patel, the spin bowling coach, was similarly off-brand. He said, they asked about Shoaib Bashir and he was like, he's bowling okay, we'd like to have Graham Swan here, but we don't, so... Really,
you can't say that.
Yeah, exactly. To this guy who the whole thing has been about emboldening this player who's 21 and has no record behind him to have confidence to actually outperform his county numbers in Test cricket.
And I know we'd rather have this old bloke who's been gone for years.
So that plan also lies in ruin. So yeah, I feel like, I think I'm going around in circles a bit here, but ultimately what I'd like to say is the pressure cooker of an Ashes Down Under does not allow you, or clearly has not allowed England to stick with this all guns blazing verbal approach. And I think that has then sunk into the players and shoulders have dropped.
The pressure cooker has burnt Bazball away to a crisp and the ashes are just floating in the wind. So I mean, usually if this was close, we'd probably be talking about Snicko a lot more as a sort of, we've been hard done by here. But I think there's just a collective this as well kind of feeling about it. But the technology's been, I think the word is shite.
Yes.
I would say. Charlie, do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yeah, and it's not like England can't feel hard done by because they've been thoroughly outplayed, and also, although the majority of the poor Snicko decisions have not gone England's way, it's not a case of, foul play. It's just really poor technology, and it's just a very cricket thing. We'll quickly explain what happened. So Alex Carey on about 70, edged one, and England...
Which he admitted.
Sent it upstairs. He later admitted edging. Or he might have even been given out and reviewed it. I can't remember. Wheels have fallen off.
Who cares?
But basically, a big spike was shown on Snicko, but out of sync with the spiking of...
It was quite a while before, wasn't it?
Before the bat. And there is a margin of error with Snicko, which is already ridiculous, because Ultra Edge, which we'll come on to, doesn't have that in the same way. So we've already had that in the first test of Jamie Smith getting out with us. Like, well, there is a noise. It's not when the ball's near the bat, but it might be that. But this one, they determined that it was too far away. But the noise was massive and couldn't have really been anything else by how it looked. So basically what came out after the day's play was that the operators held their hands up and said, what we think has happened is the person running it has picked the wrong stump mic, and it's the one 22 yards down there, which is funny for two reasons, because it's like, well, that was an edge, but also it was such a massive edge that it was still clearly visible 22 yards away.
But you'd think that first of all, there are layers to this. So first of all, selecting the wrong stump mic is just, it's a silly mistake. It's a laughable error. But even if we eradicate that and say, right, that's happened, surely they'd work that. It's so, you can just, I feel like that would be, even as a viewer, your first conclusion. As you've said, well, it's a huge spike in the waveform. It's kind of a slightly decent amount of time before the ball hits the bat, and that probably would equate to about 22 yards. Oh, what's 22 yards away? Oh, yeah, the other mic. Mm-hmm. Surely you'd kind of think that. Yeah,
and I think it was just common sense just didn't apply throughout. There was another one where they went up for everything to check everything. The umpires might have even sent it upstairs rather than the players, which they sometimes do for fair catch, but they did it for an edge. It seemed like everyone's brain was frazzled, and then there was a time when they were checking everything, and they played the full replay of the ball clearly to the naked eye, hitting the bat, then hitting the pad. So you could clearly tell there was an edge. And then cut to the catch not being taken. It bounced before it was taken. And then they spent 5 minutes with Snicko first trying to determine whether there was an edge or not. And the commentators were screaming, going, it's hit the...
what's gone on there?
That was Siri. Something went wrong.
Just so angry at Snicko.
I've noticed with Siri recently, you can't even say an S sound without him
thinking it's me.
Appearing.
So pick me is Siri.
Yeah, no one wants you, Siri.
Yeah, fuck off.
So they, even though you could clearly by the naked eye tell that there was an edge, they spent 5 minutes with Snicko trying to tell if there was an edge, even though the ball hadn't carried. And they literally saw that it hadn't carried, and you heard like the crowd just go, oh, when they replayed. Then he quickly went, well, let's just go back to Snicko. And Graham Swan was having a hernia, just going, it's bounced. So yeah, just a real lack of common sense. And another way in which that applies, which I'm not sure if you're aware of this, Johnny, because I think I've mentioned to you Ultra Edge, which we use in England, and they use everywhere apart from Australia and New Zealand, is better. But what
at least we're better at that.
Yes.
Yeah. Technology.
So I wanted to know why Australia uses Snicko instead. So I Googled, why do Australia use Snicko, and BBC Sport were right on it with the Ask Me Anything from 5 hours prior. It had obviously been a very Googled term. Something that I really enjoyed was when I typed in "why don't Australia" into Google, the first thing was "why don't Australians wear shoes?"
Nice.
Which I don't think that's.
Did you get the answer to that?
I don't think that's true.
No,
well, to be honest,
every Australian I've ever seen has been wearing shoes.
I'm sure they wear shoes when the time calls.
Yeah.
Basically the answer is it's up to the host broadcaster to pay for it. So the home board doesn't pay for it. The ICC doesn't pay for it. The person who's putting it on the telly pays for it.
Okay.
And the long and short of it is Snicko is cheaper.
Well, that's awful.
So Fox have plumped for it to save money.
And it's egg on their face.
It's just ridiculous. Well, it's not egg on their face. It's egg. Why is it their decision?
Yeah.
It's something that materially impacts
the game,
the outcome of the game.
Which the broadcaster has therefore affected the game.
It's very much
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is that the same in this country?
Yeah. Well, I think the ECB have just signed a new rights deal with Sky, whereby they will pay for Ultra Edge.
Okay.
But Sky are paying them loads.
Right.
But it's just ridiculous, and it's sort of sorry to always make football analogies if we have reached anyone out there who likes cricket and not football, but it reminds me of La Liga when they have those super high def cameras of the players walking off the pitch, but they don't have VAR.
Yeah.
And it's very much the same here. They have like really high def close up cameras, but they don't have Ultra Edge. But yeah, it's just a case of cricket and there being a lack of a centralised body that with actually any sort of gumption to make decisions. And it also, you see, it affects the umpires. The umpires throughout the series have had very little of a hold on proceedings, it feels like. They've had the Australians in their ear the whole time. They've had incredibly slow over rates, and they've had all this going on, and it just feels like they've lost control a little bit. And was the series closer, I think it would be a much bigger deal.
But at this point, it's just like, this as well.
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, because we're getting battered. So Charlie, I suppose, is there anything else we need to touch on? We've discussed. I think we discussed really what this, because it's over now. I mean, we've lost the Ashes.
Yeah.
I suppose the last thing I can think that we should probably touch on is there was a Ben Stokes interview that we were clipping up today, which was him saying that I still feel there's a lot to play for. I still feel that that success now is still attainable if we perform well and win one or both of the final two tests. Do you agree with that? And can it happen? It doesn't feel there's not much optimism, is there?
No. I would agree with that in that, as I said in the last whatever this is, podcast.
Attempt at a pod.
That I think winning one game would massively change the narrative, and Michael Vaughan has sort of said that he doesn't want to see wholesale change, and I also don't want to see wholesale change, but I think it's hard it's like a knee-jerk reaction when you lose this heavily.
Yeah.
But I think whereas England have seemed, directionless usually when they go to Australia, they came here with a plan. They've just gone away from it. It hasn't worked. And I think why Michael Vaughan is saying, because Michael Vaughan can be quite a reactionary pundit. I think he likes to be that guy. So to hear him say that, I think is notable. And the reason why he's saying that is he's drawing from 2003 when he went as a young player, had a fantastic personal series, scored a couple of hundreds, maybe even 3. And England lost 4-1. But 4-1 sounds a lot better than 5-0, and I think it allowed them to stick with the young core that they had. And then they had an excellent 2004, won the Ashes in 2005. So I think Ben Stokes is right to say that, and I think it's heartening to hear him say he wants to stay on as captain.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be till 2027. McCullum, it's a little bit more up in the air, but personally I think there's no one better placed to learn from the mistakes of this and improve the team than them. I think what needs to be addressed is, so far, they've had little to no success blooding this young team that they've chosen. They had a lot of success with an old team, which then they made the decision to move on from. Yeah. So they need to put their money where their mouth is now and turn this young core of talented and exciting but very green players who have maybe shown to not have the match fitness of Australia to not have the match awareness of Australia, and to not have the, the chat and the bottle and the aggression that we thought they might given their playing style. They need to stick with a lot of these young players, and they need to turn them into winners.
If the post-Ashes axe is swung towards the neck of anybody, whose neck will it be swung towards?
I think Ollie Pope. Sorry to keep singling him out, but I think his race is run. I hope it's not Jamie Smith. He's gone under a lot of scrutiny. He batted well in that fourth innings. He got out with a bad shot, but he was just trying to attack the new ball. I think he could have got out defending very easily in the next few overs. But I think, again, he got a little bit too excited. He'd got 4 fours in a row. And I think that's one of the things that needs to be tempered. And I think it's something that you always feel with Crawley and Brook as well, is that when they have an over where they hit 4 fours, it's like, just block it. And you even notice the Barmy Army in this test, like Jamie Smith hit a 6, they cheered, and then he blocked the next ball and they cheered because they understand
he's playing the game.
Yeah.
I've got a 6. I don't need to get myself out after that.
Yeah, so I do think, as much as our lovely commenter pointed out, that England don't know how to play any other way. At the end of the day, they're young players and they just need to learn how to play any other way. But I think Ollie Pope just looks shot. I think Zach Crawley's an interesting one because, he's been kept in the team for this. So even though he's been okay, you could still make a case that it's like, well, this is done now. And what we've got next isn't this. Yeah. So maybe we pick someone else. So I think Pope, I really hope not Smith. I think he'll be one of England's leading batters in years to come. I would maybe say chop Smith's gloves off, I would say. Not his neck.
Yeah, very good.
Promote him to the top order because he does have a good technique and England need a top order batter. So promote him. So then new wicket keeper, someone who's a bit more chirpy behind the stumps, a bit more energetic. And I think, will the axe swing for any of the bowlers? I hope not. They're all young. They're all talented. But I think what England need to do, which was a mistake not to do, is to have at least one traditional English seamer, a Chris Wokes, a Matt Potts. It could have been Sam Cook. So to not go in with these weird attacks where Carse is opening the bowling, you need one change bowler, and either that's Carse or that's Tong. And I think I think ideally you would have a proper new ball bowler with the new ball alongside either Atkinson or Archer, and then one of Tong or Carse as your enforcer, as your point of difference, and a proper spinner. They need a proper spinner.
Yes. Is the proper spinner, I mean, you mentioned the Bashir experiment really hasn't worked out. Is there anyone on the books?
You could say he's not a proper spinner, but I would like to see Rayan Ahmed in there. Because he's Leicestershire, but he's a leg spinner and he'd go for loads of runs as well. So with the spin, and I think we'll go more into detail about personnel changes and the like in the fifth test maybe, and what might we see come the first test of 2024. Maybe that will crystallise a little bit more. But no, the long and short of it is no, there's not an obvious answer, and that's kind of how we've got to this point.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, I think, are we ready to wrap it up, do you think?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I need to go for a drink, don't I? And we need to exchange some presents as well. We're doing a Secret Santa tonight,
yes,
which will be nice. Is that happening now?
It is.
Well, there we go. We'll go and do that. Thank you so much for listening, despite the disappointment of the series so far. It's been lovely to have you along with us. And let's hope we have something positive to talk about over the next couple of tests. Bye now.
Yeah.